So a lot of people think that monk mode is a path towards dopamine detox. But in this video, you are going to discover the truth about dopamine detox, what it is specifically, why most people do it wrong, and the 3 steps that you can implement into your life in order to rewire the reward system so that you can do what is the right thing for you rather than getting caught up in those destructive habits that cause us to go down the slippery slope towards destruction. Okay, now if you have been following this channel for a while, you know that the monk mode challenge is going live on the 1st. So if you want to join us inside this brotherhood, inside this step-by-step roadmap, this systematic process of building and cultivating self-mastery, then I encourage you to open up a new tab in your browser window, go to monkmodechallenge.com, and I would love to see you on the inside. Now, first and foremost, let's discuss what dopamine even is, okay? Because most people get this wrong. They think that dopamine is a toxin, right? Considering that you have to detox it. But the reality is that dopamine is a neurotransmitter that is the driver behind human behavior, okay? Anything that you do on a consistent basis, the only reason that you do it is because you get a dopamine spike from it, okay? It is a neurotransmitter that motivates human behavior, okay? And there is a principle in habit change that says that what gets rewarded gets repeated. So dopamine is the reward that makes us repeat the things that would be beneficial for our evolution. Now, this is something that a lot of industries are aware of, and you are probably aware of what these industries are. For example, the edible food-like substances that taste really good, that give us that sugar high, that give us tremendous amounts of dopamine, because our caveman ancestors that had a scarcity of food, when they found like a tree of fruit, they would just binge it all because they wouldn't know where their next meal is coming from. So in the same way, these food companies basically create foods that are packed full of sugar that give us that dopamine spike, and we keep on consuming them past the point which it is beneficial for us. It's actually destructive for us, to the point where so many people in this world are struggling with obesity and overweight, and all of these conditions lead to other conditions down the road. Okay, so that's the first thing to understand, that dopamine is not something that is a toxin. It's not something that needs to be removed from our system. It just needs to be rewired, and we need to get an awareness of the powers that be that are in the process of hacking our reward system to going down a path of making us sick, so that we buy meds. Okay, having an awareness of that whole game that's being played so that we don't get caught up in it. Okay, now this is something that has to do kind of metaphysically, right? But the chakra system, right? If you are familiar with the chakra system, you know that the bottom 3 chakras have to do with our survival, right? The first chakra is the root chakra, which has to do with our grounding, with our security, with us feeling safe, right? Spit flying out here. And the second chakra, which is the sacral chakra, has to do with our emotions, our sexuality, right? Our third chakra, which is our solar plexus chakra, has to do with our willpower. Okay, so most people that are caught up in this cycle of getting dopamine spikes, right, their whole life is centered around getting dopamine spike after dopamine spike after dopamine spike. And what that does is it actually fries the reward system to the point where more and more reward becomes needed in order to feel that same experience, right? For example, when you take your first hit of something, you go crazy. It's a wild experience. And then you take your second hit and it's not as wild, and you take your third hit and it's not as wild, right? The same thing with sugar. It's the same thing with pornography. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things, right? It's like they are what is known as a super stimulus, which means that it is something our brains are wired to favor, but it is actually past the point of being beneficial for us. In fact, it's not even beneficial at all. It's actually destructive, but that is what they call hacking the mind, right? So how should you go about this? So like I said, a lot of people are getting hacked from the lower chakras, right? They are stuck in survival, right? They are stuck in trying to get that pleasure in the moment without sacrificing it to get that fulfillment in the long term, right? So that's the first step to get an awareness on. And then a lot of people come up to the level of the solar plexus chakra. They're like, they're going to resist this. They're not going to engage in these behaviors anymore. And then they're like, yeah, I'm going to do a dopamine detox once per week, right? So that doesn't make sense, because if a dopamine detox is quote unquote healthy for you, which it is, right? But it's just important to get on the same page, right? Like dopamine, like I said, it's not a toxin. It's about rewiring it so that we can do the things that we know we're supposed to do, right? Rather than get up in the behaviors that we know we are not supposed to do, right? So with most people, like, I'm going to do a dopamine detox, right? I'm going to go a day without my phone. I'm going to go a day without any stimulation. That's great. That's amazing. All power to you. But if dopamine detox, that behavior that you're doing is healthy, right? And the other 6 days of the week, you're just frying your dopamine, then it doesn't really work, right? In the same way that if you're eating healthy once per week and you're eating junk food the rest of the week, it won't serve you, right? It just won't work. So what I am encouraging you to do is follow this 3-step process, right? First and foremost, we want to elevate where we get our dopamine fix from, okay? Like I said, if you're familiar with the chakras, then I'm going to give you an overview right now. If you're not, then you can check out another video. I'll link out to it below where I give an overview of the chakras. But we have to elevate from the lower 3 chakras to the upper 4 chakras, right? So when we get to the level of the heart, it's about having compassion for yourself. It's not about judging yourself. It's not about shaming yourself when you fall off track. It's about how you can improve moving forward, right? And then it's like, what if you could get a dopamine fix from actually expressing yourself, right? The throat chakra. If you can go and share your ideas with people, if you could share your music with people, if you could go and share your truth with the people that need to hear it, and you get a dopamine fix from that, then you get it from actually expressing yourself, right? So it's not so much that you're trying to detox it. It is that you are rewiring it from the lower chakras, where you're getting it to the pleasure, you're getting it through the dopamine fix in the moment, to actually, I'm expressing myself right now and that feels good, and I'm going to repeat this because I actually feel good when I express myself, right? Or you go to the 6th chakra, right? You open up your third eye and you picture what an ideal future looks like for you. You picture what an ideal life looks like for you. You picture what an ideal character that you can be when you live into the vision of your highest ideals, right? You got to fix out of that, out of visualizing what your future can be, right? You conceive of an image beyond what you're currently experiencing, and that is the power that you, me, and every one of us humans have been given, to picture something that is beyond our realm of current experience and circumstances. And when you do that is when you activate your power to begin consciously creating a new future that is in alignment with that vision, right? And this is probably the most important, because if you do not know why you're doing something, if you do not have a vision that drives you, that compels you, that moves you towards the future, then it's very difficult to govern your behaviors in the present moment. On the other hand, if you have a vision and you sacrifice that instant gratification in the moment, right? Even though in the moment it's like kind of you're sacrificing that quick fix, but after the second order consequences, right? Not in the moment, but like the second order consequences, the third order consequences, like a day later, 2 days later, you realize that, yeah, man, I did something to serve the greater vision and I sacrificed that short-term pleasure, and you get a dopamine fix from that, right? So, like the 7th chakra is all about connecting to the source, right? Like if you are engaging in a spiritual practice, if you're engaging in getting in touch with a higher power and you're getting a dopamine fix from that, then you're going to repeat that as well. Okay, so that's the 3 steps, right? Like, first step, get clear on what that vision is. What do you actually want for yourself? What do you actually want to be? Who do you want to be? How do you want to serve? Like, what is that idea? Like, if you had a magic wand, you could wave it and create yourself in any new way that you want. What would that look like? Get some clarity around that, right? And then bring it into fruition by talking about it, by creating something that aligns with that vision as well, right? And at the end of the day, it just comes down to you having clarity on what you want, and then just having the discipline to do what needs to be done right here, right now, and then rewarding that by actually aligning it with the vision, which means that you actually feel good by sacrificing the short-term gratification for the long-term fulfillment and alignment with that bigger vision. Okay, so to conclude this video, it's not about dopamine detox, because dopamine is not a toxin, right? It's about rewiring the dopamine from the lower chakras, where we're getting a fix from the quick fix, from the emotions, from the pleasure, to getting it from expressing ourselves, to visualizing, and to connecting with the higher source, right? And that's really what it comes down to. And if you can really do this right now, then you do not have to get caught up in this dopamine detox thing where, I'm gonna go a day without my phone and then I'm gonna be addicted to my phone for the rest of the week. That will not work, right? It's all about how we can have dopamine work for us, rather than us work for the dopamine that has been hijacked by the food industry, by the television industry, by the entertainment industry, by the drugs out there, right? And having it work for us so that we can repeat what we know is serving the highest expression of who we really are. Okay, now if you want to join us inside a community where we're going to walk through a system to get that clarity, to unlock that self-discipline, and ultimately experience that self-mastery, then I encourage you to click the link in the description or open up a new tab. Go to monkmodechallenge.com, and I hope to see you on the inside. But with all that being said, leave a comment below letting me know your number one takeaway from this video. Subscribe if you have not already. Click the like button. It really helps the channel grow. But I will leave you in the peace and power of the one infinite creator, and I'll catch you in the next one. Much love to you. Take care.